Hashtag Doggy People with Phil Lassman.
Hello, it's me, and welcome to Hashtag Doggy People, the show that lets me chat to people about life, love, and dogs. Now, this week I've got two guests with a combined age of 181. They're famous for being supreme fundraisers, and they're also famous for being Ricky Gervais's next door neighbour. Please go animal wild for Angela and Martin Humphry.
Hello.
Hey, okay. Hello, Angela and Martin, and welcome to Hashtag Doggy People. Now, before we begin, let's make sure we've got everything that we need. Blankets, pot of tea, comfy slippers. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about these are the things I need for the interview. Anyway, so how are you both?
Very well. Very well.
Yes.
Still bearing up.
Bearing up. You're wonderful, Angela. You know that, and you know what we all think of you. So, of course, last week we had the great honour of coming to your Zoom birthday party. When actually was your birthday?
5th of October.
That was on
That was
day.
on our birthday.
That was the big day.
Right.
Also, it was one day after World Animal Day. So a triple whammy.
That's right. And how, and of course, you, as usual, you dedicated your birthday celebration to raising more money for animals.
Asia.
It was it for Animals Asia?
Yes. They want to rescue the 430 remaining moon bears, which are still imprisoned in crates on biofarms in Vietnam.
Yes, that's right. Yes, I mean, I've got some good news to tell you that actually I spoke to Jill this week, and she's agreed she's coming on to the show in about 3 weeks' time. So we're really excited about that. We're actually, I mean, I've told this lot here, this producer lot, that they said I'd never get the guests on, but of course I have. I told you I'd get them on. Anyway, so what your birthdays, are they both exactly the same day?
Yes.
They are. 5th
How-
of October.
How incredible is that? I mean, who's the actual oldest between
I'm
you?
the oldest.
By 1 year.
As I said at the time, it's a significant milestone for Angela. For me, it's just another boring number.
Yeah, it's just a boring number of 91. I mean, Martin, I've got to tell you something. I'm a bit of a, I've got a secret man crush on you because I think that you are the most awesome inspiration of a man, because I'm going to tell the audience what you've been through recently, and you're just unbelievable. But I'll come back to that in a minute. I mean, how long have you guys been married?
64 years. 3 life sentences.
Goodness me. What do you argue about the most?
Everything.
Oh dear. Need I ask this? Who's the bossiest out of you two, Angela? Quite right, Martin. We know that, but we love her for it. I'm married to a bossy lady as well. Well, tell me, when and where did you both originally meet?
We met at 215 Haverstock Hill in Belsize Park, which was my father's garage. And my father took him on as a trainee. This is over 60 years ago. And and that was where I met him. And when he was wearing a white overall with Shell and BP on the pocket.
Amazing. So what were you doing, Martin? Were you weren't filling we weren't a petrol.
It was everything.
Yeah. No,
Really?
I'd just come out of the army by national service. I didn't know what the hell to do. Before I went into the national service, I was trying to do the law and I hated it. So when I came out, I'd been working on vehicles in the army. I thought I'd like to go on doing that. So my father vaguely knew Angela's father, and he rang him up. And he said, well, you better come and see me. And I went to see him. He said, well, if you want to start in this bloody business, you better start sweeping the floor. And I'm very grateful to him because he made me do every bloody thing. And by the time some 12 years later, left his company because it was being sold, and went on to be another company, eventually being managing director of it. I knew all the wriggles going on in the trade because I'd done them. So
Of course. Amazing. But,
Married the boss's daughter.
yes.
Yeah,
Martin, always the best way. Marry the boss's daughter. That's definitely the thing to
after I
do.
got the job, not before.
So you've been married for 64 years. Now, I want to know, what's your one tip for a successful marriage?
Oh no, there's no such thing as a
There's no such thing.
successful marriage.
Every marriage is different. It's impossible, really.
And
But marriage itself is impossible.
it's very difficult living with anybody.
Yeah.
Anybody who manages to do it, I think, deserves a medal.
I know we're not really made for it, but but listen, when you get the right person, you get the right partner, like you two obviously have, it
But I
goes
don't know
well.
about that.
It goes well. I mean, a lot of people didn't think that Ira and I would survive, really. A lot of doubters. I think I was the main one, as it happens, but it's all worked out. Now, let's get on to animals, because of course that's what the show's about. I mean, of all the people that I know through IRA in animal welfare, you two, honestly, and I'm not giving you the schmooze, the fact is you are absolutely outstanding. I'm in awe of the pair of you. What I really want to know is, when did you both first discover your love for animals?
I did in the pram. When I was a baby, I was nearly always falling out of my pram, trying to stroke every passing dog. And when I was 10, I had a jumble sale. This is in the Hampstead Garden suburb, in a back garden, selling bric-a-brac that my mother's friends had given me, and I made £4, which
Big bucks in those days.
80 years ago was a bit more than it's worth than it is today.
Of course.
And about 20 or 30 years ago, I started showing off. I became a travel writer and a photographer, and I started boring people with my slides. And then somebody said, well, why don't you give them tea and charge them a tenner? So that was, I first started doing that. Then we got on to lunches, really big lunches, where you used to have 50 people. Friends helped and bought dishes. And we did that, about 4 of those a year. Then I went back to doing teas. Then we started doing events up at Berg House, as Ara has done for All Dogs Matter. So really, I've been fundraising, I suppose, well, not every day, but for the last particularly in the last 20 years. And Martin joined me. He then, well, you tell him how you
Well, I got dragged into it because when we had it 20 years ago now. We lost a dog, and we had a gap. We hadn't got a dog, and I said to Angela, "We better get a dog."
we get any older.
And so she said, "I've just sold this wonderful woman who rescues greyhounds. I'll give her a ring," and she did, and we got our first Spanish galgo. They call the hunting dogs in Spain. He appallingly abused. And we got our first one, and he had already came with a disease which in the end did him in at about the age of we had him about 6. We had him about
9, called Lassman.
Had Lassman, and then we thought we'd better get another one. And meanwhile, the woman who'd started the Greyhounds Indeed, the charity doing this work, rang me up and said, "Martin, I'd like you to become a trustee. Don't worry about it. It's only 3 meetings a year. It's a novel." Like a fool, I said yes. Within a few months of my saying yes, she had to retire from work because she was very ill, and her husband, who's the other principal trustee, died. So there I am with a charity on my hands, with, thank God, a very good general manager, and that was about it. But we've expanded a lot since then. We've moved to bigger offices, doing more work, and I'm still a trustee. I used to be chairman, but I've resigned that. I'm still a trustee. But we in normal times we rescue and rehome all over Europe, about 600 of them a year.
600 in 1 year.
Yeah, that's just scratching the surface. There are thousands and thousands.
Goodness me. Yeah.
We're not hands-on in the sense that we don't actually work in Spain ourselves,
but we support shelters, pay for infrastructure, transport, veterinary costs, and we arrange the homing with various homing organisations around Europe. So it's a full-time job for our dear general manager and her assistant, and it's very much a part-time job for me now.
But you, of course, I know, Martin, have been the driving force behind it for a number of years. We're talking about Greyhounds in Need, aren't we?
Yeah.
The organisation. Can I just rewind for a second? The dog that influenced you, the greyhound that influenced you to take on this role, am I right? Was that Percy?
No. The first one was Harry.
No.
Oh, Harry. I didn't meet Harry, but I certainly.
He was a brindle, and he was exquisite. Honestly, these dogs are the most beautiful creatures. They really are designer dogs. They're drip dry. They don't fight. They don't bite. And they're couch potatoes. I can remember my sister-in-law saying, "Oh, won't that need a frightful amount of exercise?" No, they go round in circles on the heath. You can just stand there, and they look beautiful while they're running, and then they go to sleep for 23 hours. What's not to like?
No, I tell you, it was your Percy. It was your Percy that really hooked me onto the breed myself. I've got a very soft spot for greyhounds, and it's again that's down to you, because I adored Percy. I mean, unfortunately, I've got a beautiful picture of me and Percy at one of your do's, and we're both sort of looking really smart. I can't find the blooming thing anywhere because I wanted to hold it unshown. When did Percy go over the rainbow? How long ago was that?
A year ago, on the last day of July last year, I took him up to Hampstead, up to Kenwood, had a coffee with Ruth and Michael, and he was a bit slow. He came back home, okay, finished off his breakfast, came upstairs with me while I was doing some emails on the computer. When I came downstairs, he stumbled and he looked like he dislocated his paw. So I called Martin. Suddenly, boom, wham, he collapsed at our feet, couldn't get up. I rushed out in the street and got someone to help me get him into the car. Of course, our local vet, which is just down at the bottom of the road, was closed, being a Sunday. So we had to take him to Medivet in Highgate. And they said, not enough, Hendon, not enough blood was being pumped through his heart.
Right.
So it was 16 and a half. I think he was very lucky. He'd never been ill. He had a lovely life in Leafy Hampstead. And he stuffed it really quickly. We had him put down there and then.
Wonderful. No, I know he was a very, very lucky greyhound. As indeed, this is the first time I'm publicly discussing, Ira and I lost Abby 2 weeks ago, as you know. And you know what? This is a first, ladies and gentlemen. This is an absolute first. Can you see behind me?
Oh, yeah, it's a Staffy. I can.
You see that big Staffy? That's Abby.
Oh, is it? Who did that?
Those are her ashes.
Oh.
This is. I'm going to show. No one has ever seen. You're the very first people to see this. But if I can take that, look. This is. Can you see that?
Oh my God!
Yeah.
And if I shake Abby, I don't know if you can hear. Her ashes are in this container. I mean, it's cost a lot of money, but where Abby was concerned, money was never an object for us. And Ira and I, we just got this back yesterday.
Oh,
yeah.
So Abby, bless her, may she rest in peace. She is now with me and Ira Heifer, and she's got pride of place, and she's going to be involved in every show.
That's amazing.
Abby the Staffy and her ashes. Anyway, look, we'll move along from that. I mean, it's horrible to lose a dog. Part of dog ownership is, as of course, you've got to be prepared to say goodbye to that dog.
Lives are so short compared to
Their lives. But listen, Percy had 16 and a half years. Abby had 15 years. So I think we can't complain. Now, what I want to do, Angela, now I know that you've been a journalist for most of your life, and I've seen the pictures of you when you were a swinging 60s chick, which you look great. But tell me, am I right or wrong in thinking that didn't you spend some time in Africa?
Oh, no, South Africa, yes.
In South Africa. You lived there, did you? Didn't you?
2 years, 2 years. Yes.
For 2 years. Is that where you met Virginia McKenna?
No.
No.
No, I didn't meet her for years. later. I met her by going to Born Free meetings when they were
Right.
called Food Check. That was about 30 years ago. So I
Right.
used to go to their meetings. So because, you know, over time, I used to talk to Virginia. And then about 20 years ago, just after her husband, Bill Travers, had died, we had a fundraising lunch in our garden. And she was so kind. She came all the way from Sussex, which is a 2-hour drive.
Wow.
And she spoke to people, and she was charming and lovely. And we've done actually, and then we went out to China. We went to China to see the bears with Jill Robinson, whom you're interviewing. And shortly after we'd been there, Virginia went, and Dr. Roger Mugford, and we all laughed because they were both at that lunch, saying we'd all slept in the same bed, but not at the same time. Roger Mugford, Virginia McKenna, and us.
And we eventually went to Kenya for the...
Oh yes, we went to Kenya with Virginia. That was for Martin's 80th, so that was 10 years ago, on a little safari, and we went to Elsa's grave. Elsa the Lioness, yes, which was the star of the Born Free movie, book, which started the whole charity.
Yeah, incredible. And of course, she was present at your Zoom party last week. She paid tribute to you both, which is nothing less than I'd expect for you guys.
She was very kind because we had just done a 2-month sponsored walk at the beginning of lockdown. We were encouraged to do something by Colonel Tom, who raised money for the NHS. And also, I'd seen Virginia prior to lockdown when she told me she'd actually been to a wet market in China with Jill and seen women playing cards, throwing live kittens into boiling oil. Oh. Yes, these wet markets, people don't understand. Chopping animals up, monkeys, pangolins, all in front of one another. The barbarity is unbelievable. So that, combined with Colonel Tom, I said to Martin, well, we go walking every day on the heath. Let's do it for something. So we asked Virginia's son, Will, could we do it? Because they had a campaign to close down these wet markets all over Asia. Can we raise some money for you? And he said yes, and we raised just over 32,000 in 2 months.
Wow. Did you? 32,000. And I know, because you made the local papers, the Ham and High, we saw you in there. And Zyra spotted you so many times with your ski.
The Daily Mail.
Yeah. No, honestly, you're this is what I mean about you being inspirational. You come up with these unbelievable ideas. You're spring chickens now, but nothing stops you. You've got that tremendous zest for life that we all love and admire you for. But Angela, if I can just stay with you for a little while longer, of course, I just want to talk about the fact that you are an author, of course, that you've written a wonderful book some time ago now, wasn't it? Memoirs of a Party Animal. Yes. We have the book, but I've been looking high and low for it because I wanted to pluck it for you and hold it up. But it is a magnificent book. Tell us about that. What was the idea behind writing that?
Originally, a friend of mine who was a Fleet Street hack in the old days and still writes, Liz Hodgkinson, I asked her if she'd ghost a book for me about coincidences, because so many have happened in my life. And then she said, I do. No, you're going to write it, I'll edit it, and it's going to be about animals. So as I had been a travel writer, and I always tried to get animal stories into my pieces, my mum went through them all, picked out the best ones, and edited them and strung them together and added a few more. So, job done.
Job done. Well done. Well, it was an entertaining book, just like you as an entertaining author. But if you haven't read Angela's book, Memoirs of a Party Animal, get it on Amazon. You can buy it for virtually nothing, and it is a jolly good read. So now, Martin, got a couple of questions here for you. I have done my research, Look, there it is. And of course, now we've already discussed the fact that you were chairman of Greyhounds in Need, and you're still involved with them. We know that you were a former motor industry executive. We'll call you an executive rather than. I know you started on the petrol pumps.
Oh, yes.
Married the boss's daughter. Nothing wrong with that. Good on you. Points, man points there. But also, I want to just talk to you about the fact that you were the former chairman of the Heath and Hampstead Society.
Yeah.
And in fact, that put you in charge of Berg House. I've had the pleasure of.
Berg House is separate. Berg House is a separate charity.
Tell us about the Heath and Hampstead Society.
Society is now about 125 years old. It's one of the, we think probably one of, if not the longest lasting environmental society. And we were started in order to protect the heath, which at that time was very much under threat from development. We're talking about the 1890s. The battle to save it had been won in the late 1880s. And then it went straight to say, and eventually over the years, the society was expanded to include the infrastructure of Hampstead as well, the village. So then it was called the Heath and Old Hampstead Society. Now it's simply called the Heath and Hampstead Society. We have about 6,500 members, and I was chairman for a few years. I'm now the vice president, which, as in America, means nothing.
Well, I tell you, yes, but that was alongside all of your other involvements. I mean, how did you cope with wearing so many different hats for so many different organisations?
Badly.
Well, I don't think you did cope badly.
I think you just, if you're an itchy person like I am, and Angela is too, you have to be doing something, and you are the same. You can't sit back and do nothing.
I'm in your camp, yeah.
So you have to be doing something. So when you find something, you give it a good go, and it generally works.
Yeah. No. Listen, and you, again, I keep using this word inspirational because it's the only word that fits. I mean, you're 91, Martin. I'm 67. I'm looking at you and I'm thinking, wow, I know, I'm a babe. I mean, everywhere I go normally, I'm the oldest person in the crowd, the social distance crowd, that is. And they go, how old are you? Oh my God. But Angela, so I like hanging around with you guys because you make me feel young. That's the thing. And so there we are, Memoirs of a Party Animal. Hold it up to the camera, right up to the lens. There we are, ladies and gentlemen. It's a plug by the actual authoress herself. Get it. It's a very good read, very entertaining. All right, Angela, put it down there. All right, we've done that. Right, down it goes.
Enough commercials.
So, we've got a lot to get through, yeah. Martin, if you don't mind, I do want to just talk about this unbelievable thing that you've been through recently. You had open heart surgery, and I think you were 90 when you had it. And I know you've proudly sat in your garden before we had this awful lockdown situation, proudly displaying your magnificent scar. I mean, you were, I can't believe a man of your age gone in, had open heart surgery, come back out, like within a couple of weeks ago, but it was just like a scratch to you. I mean, nothing stops you.
Not
phenomenal. How do you have that iron constitution?
I was very lucky because at the age I was then, which was just closing on 90, normally speaking, they won't do open heart surgery. But I went through, they put me through all sorts of tests and I seemed to get through them all right. And eventually the surgeon, was a very good surgeon, said, okay, I think you're perfectly fit, we can do it. And I was lucky in that regard because I just got lucky to be fit. And he did a marvelous job, I must say. And it's a painful nuisance for about a month. And after that, it's okay.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's just open heart surgery at the age of 90. Throw away. Do you know what? I hit my thumb yesterday. I drove mental for 24 hours. I've got a scratch on my thumb. And that's the difference between you and me. You're a real man, Martin. Anyway, so listen, it's great to talk about you. Now we're moving on. I'd like to talk a little bit about dogs because the theme of the show is dogs. So I'd like to ask you, why do you think that dogs are so popular? Why do you think that? Of all the animals in the world, humans and dogs, we're like this.
Well, they're the animal has been for the longest time domesticated. They've been domesticated for 1,000 years or more. They now become, although they're pack animals, they need a pack leader, and pack leaders now are their owners.
Yeah.
And that's I think that's why it happens. And they are, as you know, they're so intuitive. They know what your mood is. They worry about you. They follow you around, and they're great companions. And
Don't argue.
They don't answer back.
Always pleased to see you.
I think anybody.
Right, right.
It's famously dogs are good at curing people of illnesses and helping the blind, helping the deaf, and sniffing out drugs and everything. They are extremely useful animals, apart from being adorable.
They're not like cats. I know cats don't require the same amount of attention, but on the other hand, cats are so independent that they're not really interested in you. It's where they live rather than who owns them, whereas dogs focus on you rather than on the... If you move, the dog wants to come with you, the cat doesn't.
Dogs have owners, cats have staff.
Yeah, yeah. But also, moving on to other charities, I know you're quite involved with Paws to Rescue, which is another magnificent charity, and to try and get them involved here at some point. I think you there were 2 lurchers that you rescued from this.
Oh, and Nara helped us. Yes,
tell us about
Alison,
that.
Well, we met. Well, I hadn't met Alison, but I found her through Wet Nose Animal Aid and saw what she was doing in Romania. So I invited her to our house. This is now 5 years ago, one Christmas, for tea. Ricky and Jane came. They were next door. Peter, Mark Abraham, I think Ara, and lots of people. And we had a tea party and charged £10 a head. And then Alison said I never knew it, but she said she was terrified, but she stood up and told us what she was doing in Romania. I couldn't believe it. She'd had a gun held to her head. She used to break into shelters because although they're stuffed with dogs and these public shelters don't really want the dogs to go because they get paid per capita. So although they pretend to be rehoming dogs, they're not. So Alison used to get wire clippers and break into shelters and get the dogs out, which were in terrible conditions. She got caught one night and a bloke held a gun to her head. Anyway, while she was here, we got Peter and Ricky to wear one of her, well, 2 of her T-shirts, which she's been using ever since, so that helped. We raised a bit of money for her, and then she said, I think you ought to come out to Romania to see what we're doing. I will only take you to the nice place shelter, she said. Well, I've never seen anything so horrible. I was nearly sick. I could hardly look. Dogs were paralyzed. There were 1,000 dogs crammed into one public shelter, which had room for 600. The dry food was thrown on top of their feces. The dogs were never let out. It was a fate worse than death.
We saw things that we'll remember to the grave, really.
It was horrendous. Anyway.
But it's better to see these things than not see them.
The lurchers. Just before we went, another friend of ours, Tamara, happened to look on Paws to Rescue site and saw a black and white greyhound bitch, 7 months old. And so she said, you should have a look. And our Alison said she almost never got greyhounds. And she got another one the same week, a male and a female from different parts of the country. They must have been pets. So Martin said, we'll take them, get to, we'll rehome them for you because we're a greyhound charity. But our supporters only wanted galgos. They didn't want other greyhounds. So Ara kindly said she'd put them on her website. Boom. We rehomed one to a Greek girl in Hampstead who had our picture taken with Ricky. And then the other was a Polish girl in Muswell Hill who took the younger one. And after a year, we got them together and the girls looked like twins. It was extraordinary. The dogs looked alike and the girls. Anyway, so Ara really, those dogs started off with Paws to Rescue, went to Greyhounds in Need kennels, and All Dogs Matter finally found them a home.
Yeah, these are all amazing stories, and I can only imagine. I've never been to Romania and seen what you've seen, but someone like Alison, I mean, again, we will get Alison on. I mean,
Yes.
I've had the privilege of meeting her a few times, and she's, I mean, she's just like an SAS soldier commando. She's fearless. She just, like Ira, all they're interested in is the welfare of that dog.
They are
They just care about the dog, and they'll put themselves on the line all the time to rescue dogs. It's a phenomenal thing.
Although she can't go out to Romania at the moment because of lockdown, last week her helpers there took 50 dogs in off the streets, 50, and she's very short of money for veterinary fees.
Well, this is probably an appropriate time. One of the things that we do on the show is I like to give my guests the opportunity to make an appeal to the audience, the viewing audience, on behalf of a specific charity that you would choose. So that's the time we're at now. I'd like to ask you both, I know it might be putting you on the spot, is there a specific charity you would like to make an appeal to camera for?
Can I not have two, one for dogs, one for bears?
Yes, you can. For you guys, anything. One each. Do one each. And this is the time. So we come to the point where my guests are going to make the appeal, ladies and gentlemen. Very important part of the show. So who's going first? Angela?
I'll say pause.
Right. Come to the screen. Come right up to the screen and make your appeal. Go. Ladies and gentlemen, here she goes.
Please, I beg you to donate to Paws to Rescue, which has one of the biggest problems in the world. Romania is a hellhole for dogs, and they are all over the streets as a result of Ceausescu not allowing people to have dogs indoors, and they've over the years become huge packs, and Alison is rehoming them at a marvellous rate, but at the moment she can't bring them into this country, and they're desperate for money for veterinary fees for the ones that they are rescuing there. Paws to Rescue.
And how can we make donations to Paws to Rescue? Go on their website and donate.
Yes.
Right. Thank you. Thank you.
PAWS figure 2 rescue, all one word.
Right. Thank you, Angela. Thank you for that. Paws to Rescue, ladies and gentlemen. Martin.
The other one we would like you to all support is Animalization, which is the most marvelous charity run by the sainted Jill Robinson, who has single-handedly rescued and rehomed, rather put into marvelous sanctuaries, these horribly abused bears, which are kept in cages which they can't move in for 30 years, up to 30 years, with their daily being milked of their liver bile through appalling catheters. It's the most appalling cruelty. We've been there to see that in Chengdu in China, and it's really absolutely mind-blowing. Aside from that, she's also helping to do something about the dog meat trade, which she's doing wonders with, and also stray dogs generally. So she's a wonderful miracle worker, lives in Hong Kong, and works mostly in Chengdu. So the Animalization Foundation, it's called. Go on the website, press the donate button, and donate.
Well done. You're a total pro, Martin, and you, Angela.
They can have a look on the Just Giving site. Just Giving fundraising still bearing up. That's our birthday appeal. Still bearing up.
Well, wonderful. We shall certainly be promoting that, Angela. So wonderful. Two amazing charities, Paws to Rescue and Animals Asia. We're going to, happily try and do our best to support both of those charities. You've dedicated a great chunk of your life to raising funds for animal welfare charities globally. How do you view the future of animal welfare?
Well,
what do you see?
At the moment, it's really difficult in lockdown because all the charities who used to have fundraising events or open their sanctuaries and earn money like that are closed. No, they are all struggling at the moment. It's really awful, and I'm sure some of them will not survive.
In the longer term, I'm quite optimistic actually about animal welfare. It's certainly hitting the headlines much more than it ever has before in my lifetime. And people are donating more. We in Greyhounds in Need have been so lucky and so grateful for the money amazing amounts of money we've been given by the people who are keen on greyhounds. But that's general, I think. There is a worldwide awakening to the plight of animals, and that's good. And I think taking the long term, will be long dead. I think things are going to get much better.
And of course, David Attenborough has brought to our screens the plight of wildlife all over the world, which is diminishing by the moment. We have to learn to treat animals better by enclosing them in zoos, fur farms, wet markets. We are harming ourselves. This is why we've got this pandemic, because of these markets in China, where they're chopping up animals from different species with blood and guts and no health and safety.
You mustn't just say China, like Mr. Trump does. It's China, Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand,
all over.
More or less the whole of the Far East, and in Africa in some places. You see these markets where wild animals are being mixed up with other meat and bush meat, and just passing diseases on. So it's a worldwide problem. But there again, I'm hopeful in the medium term because things are being done about it. Even the Chinese government has woken up and is starting, as reports have it, to really crack down on the markets. It'll be a long time before they get rid of them, but movement's there, definitely.
Martin, I think you're right. I think the future of animal welfare is looking brighter because there is a growing awareness, thanks to people like you and Ricky and Peter and David Attenborough and all the shows. I think that we're all growing up now with the idea that it is wrong to use animals and abuse animals. And I think that the younger generations specifically are growing up with this now and seeing it, and their idea, their culture is one of more towards kindness. I think we're looking toward more kindness towards animals, and of course not to ignore the growing impact of veganism, which our good friend Peter is a master leader. There are a lot more younger people now who are refusing to eat meat on the grounds that they want to be kind to the animals. So, I mean, it all helps. It all helps. That's right. I'm not going to get stuck on that whole thing. But it's, I think the future, I think, Martin, you hit the nail on the head. I think it's looking a bit brighter.
When you look back, when I was a boy, there was the RSPCA and that was it.
Yes.
And not many people supported that. Nowadays, there are thousands of charities in this country alone, all being supported, and that must be a good thing.
And apart from veganism, when I was young, I remember my mother's sister, we went to a silver fox farm and she picked out this animal in a cage. The next time I saw her, she had it slung over her shoulders and had glass eyes. Fur is bloody, and I'm not swearing. I beg people not
to... go on, swear, Angela. I mean, you're known for it. I love it when you swear. I personally
adore... to wear those beanies with that fur pom-pom. That fur pom-pom was an animal in a crate in China.
No, I mean, you actually took the words out of my mouth, because my next question for you, we're coming towards the end of the show, but I know, Angela, you are an absolute buccaneer leader in terms of fighting the fur trade. I know how appalled you are at animals being tracked and killed just to wear on your back. I mean, Ira's the same as you. I mean that Canada goose in where is it, Regent Street we go up to. I dread it when we go there. She gets into fights every single time. And if we used to go out and we'd be going sit in a restaurant. This was before lockdown. If God forbid, if a woman walked in wearing a fur anything, Ira would stop eating, put her fork down, and she would start a fight in the restaurant. She would abuse the woman. She would say, "Do you know what that animal, blah, blah, blah." I should have to come on.
I'm just referring to you.
But look, I know it is an appalling thing.
Phil, the extraordinary thing is that I see women, well, all right, people, mostly women, I have to say, on the heath with a dog on a lead and a matching piece of fur around their neck that looks like, I said to a woman once, so you've got 3 dogs. She said, no, only 2. I said, but you've got a dead one round your neck. They don't understand. They've got dogs. They obviously love animals, but they're wearing a dead one round their neck.
Yeah, there again, there are signs. The government have said they intend eventually to abolish the
After
fur.
Brexit, Zach Goldsmith's very hot on that one.
So that's making progress.
No, I think. Look, it's tough now, but I think we are the generation that is really fighting back and transgressing. Because animal welfare, I've, as Martin said a couple of minutes ago, quite rightly, I don't think I've ever seen a time in my lifetime where the animal welfare is so far in front of people. It's at the forefront. It's being put up there time after time by people that actually the mass population will take notice of. So I think we're entering a good phase.
And social media has, look, when I was young, you had to write letters. We didn't have all these screens where you can attack and address people en masse.
Well, when you were young, we didn't have anything, did we? No radio, no aeroplanes, no telephone, nothing.
Not much.
Oh, we had a telephone. It was like this.
Yeah, we used to roll it up, and that's right, and plug it in, and connect. Can I connect you, please? And that was just the call next door.
Yes.
Amazing. Great times. Listen, you've lived an amazing life, and I need to. I don't know if you can calculate this. One last question I need to ask you: how much do you think that you've raised in your lifetime animal welfare?
I have actually tried to add it up.
Go on.
I'd say maybe around $750,000, but not $1 million. Under $1 million.
I'm surprised. I thought it would have been $1 billion by now. The amount of tea parties and goodness and everything you've been involved with. But you are I call you a dynamic duo. You're an unbelievable force. You don't get you don't get the credit you deserve now, and I think that I know you're very unassuming. I know you don't like all of that, so I won't make a big thing about it.
Jill, Virginia, and of course Alison, they all get down and dirty. I just party.
That's how we like you. So now, if you want to party with me now, because we come to our little part of the show, have a bit of fun. It's called Doggy People Dabble. And I'm going to ask you 3 questions. Are you ready? Number 1, if you two woke up tomorrow morning and you, as 20-year-olds, what 3 things would you do? Keep it clean. Or don't keep it clean.
Oh, God.
What a horrible thought. I don't want to be 20 again.
Yes, who would want to do that?
I'd get a dog. We're too old to take on another one. So if I was 20, I'd get a...
You get a dog. Martin, what would you do?
You'd get a blonde.
A blonde.
Oh.
That's okay. It's a lot. How could you want a blonde? You just dye her hair blonde, that's all. Let me ask you both, at your age, you're 90 and 91, what's your guilty pleasure? Do you have one?
Wish we had. That'd be nice. We have perfectly ordinary pleasures: eating, drinking, walking.
Yes. You like your champagne, don't you? You like a nice little tipple of champagne?
Yes,
Champers?
You can say it anytime you like.
Of course. Now, I'd nominate you both as, my all-time animal welfare heroes, because you are unbelievable. Who would you nominate as your number 1 animal welfare hero?
I think probably Jill
Robinson.
Jill.
Because China is awful working in, and Alison Stanbridge, because Romania is so dreadful.
Also, the founder of Greyhounds in Need, Anne Finch, because she devoted her life and all her money to the cause, and she started it. She really discovered, as far as Europe is concerned, the cruelty that was going on in Spain. So I would.
And of course, Virginia McKenna for wildlife.
Sure, sure.
Mostly women, you notice.
Yes, well, there's so many women. I mean, I'm struggling to get the men on. We've had Peter and Mark. I tell you who we have got on. In fact, I think he's coming on in 2 weeks' time. Is the amazing Pen Farthing of Nowzet. We've got Pen.
He's a
Yeah,
hero.
yeah, yeah.
What he's done in Afghanistan, he's wonderful.
He's a
I've forgotten about him, but I'm not really.
Pen Farthing, honestly, Marine. I can't wait to talk to him. He's an amazing guy. So there are a few men around, you know. So listen, Angela and Martin, you're both unbelievable characters. I could talk to you all day. All I'd need is black coffee in a bucket, really. You're two of the most loved and respected animal welfare heroes on the planet. Thanks for everything you both do for animals and humans. I'd love you to come back on and talk to us again in a few weeks' time on the show. Will you do that?
Yes, of course. With pleasure.
Wonderful.
Spreading the word is the thing.
Marvellous. Well, thank you so much. Doggy people, please stand up, charge your glasses. The toast is the incredible Angela and Martin Humphry.
Thank you.
Well done. Well done.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Thank you. Bye-bye, Angela. Bye-bye, Martin.
Bye-bye.
God bless you both. Stay safe, all right?
Bye-bye.
Have some champers now and giggles. Love you both.
Bye-bye.
Bye, bye, bye. Well, Angela and Martin Humphreys, amazing people. Well, that's the end of our show, and I must say I am loving it. I told you I would get great guests. Now, so thanks for watching, and join me next week when I'll be chatting to the unbelievable Michelle Clark of Dogs on the Street. Dots. Excited? I am. So have a good week, stay safe, love your dog, and cheerio!